When it happens, you're just so terrified by what's going on around you that it's hard to take it in because you're just panicking. The first time it happened, I was like, okay, we need to go to the ER straight away. I thought I had a brain tumor. I said, this is not normal to feel this way. It was just so alarming and scary. How I experienced Alice in Wonderland syndrome was it would come on very suddenly and I would feel like I was falling. I would be sitting in a car and I felt like the world was moving by me, but I would be sitting still. Sometimes I felt completely detached from my body. I would see myself, but my head felt like it was going to detach and pop off and float away. Sometimes I would look down and my hands would look larger than they actually were. I thought I was going crazy. I really did think it was a brain tumor. I was going to doctors and they were saying, oh, it's probably just a cold. You'll get over it. They put me on a lot of steroid courses and they're like, just take this, you'll be fine. But then everything would come back. Why do I feel insane? Why is everyone telling me I'm normal? This is just anxiety. This is not anxiety. I don't know what this is, but there's something wrong with my brain.
It would take myriad tests, doctor visits, and months of anguish before she finally was told what was wrong with her brain. Alicia Wolf, a Texas author and mental health advocate, had Alice in Wonderland Syndrome, a rare brain disorder in which things seem much larger or much smaller than they really are. Body parts grow or shrink. Rooms become cathedral-sized or tiny as a doll's house. Named after Lewis Carroll's childhood classic, its sufferers may have included the author himself and painter Vincent van Gogh, both of whom had long battles with depression and debilitating migraines.
I had seen probably 6 or 7 doctors around Dallas, and everything was coming back normal. We had a friend at the Mayo Clinic who was like, they diagnose all these weird symptoms, you should go there. And so I went through 2 days of testing at Mayo Clinic.
Alicia was told she had vestibular migraine, which doesn't always come with head pain. Rather, it affects the inner ear and causes dizziness, vertigo, and flashing images. One of its symptoms is Alice in Wonderland Syndrome. Alicia was told she needed to find a neurologist who specialized in vestibular migraine.
There's a handful in the US, but one of the doctors is in Dallas, and he confirmed everything and validated all my symptoms.
That physician was Dr. Shin Bae, an expert in vestibular migraine and Alice in Wonderland Syndrome.
In most cases, Alice in Wonderland Syndrome is related to migraine and epilepsy. But there have been other reports as well in viral illnesses like Coxsackie B1, Epstein-Barr virus, Lyme, scarlet fever. It's been reported in psychiatric disorders like schizophrenia. It's not related to a single illness per se or a single cause. There are many different causes of it, so that's why we call it more of a syndrome rather than a disease. It's been around for a very, very long time. I believe since 1955. That was the first description of it by a British psychiatrist. Looking back, even in the 1930s, there were reports, I believe, of soldiers who had traumatic brain injuries who were experiencing similar symptoms. A patient was an actor. He described to me the dolly zoom effect. It's one of Alfred Hitchcock's special effects where as he moves closer to an object, he zooms out, or as he moves away from the object, he zooms in. It's one of the more unusual type of Alice in Wonderland symptoms.
Dr. Bae says his best advice for treatment of Alice in Wonderland Syndrome is to find a clinician who knows about the disorder and how to diagnose its underlying cause.
The biggest advancement, of course, is the awareness among both patients and clinicians about the condition. And so, people are reassured that they're not, losing their minds.
The syndrome also greatly affects children, especially those with migraines, creating panic and horror for little ones. Most grow out of experiencing the disorder, as did Dr. Bae. But sometimes it returns with a vengeance without warning.
A lot of children have it as part of their migraine phenomenon. I had it as a child myself. I didn't know what it was until I got, became a neurologist and I figured out, oh, this is what I had as a child.
Warehouse worker Matt Harris had the syndrome as a child, terrifying him and his parents. He also suffered painful migraines.
The earliest I can remember was maybe when I was around 6 or 7. I would get this very weird sensation, like I was laying on the floor of a huge cathedral or something. My body was just enormous in this tiny little cage. I didn't know what was going on. I was freaking out. My parents were freaking out. For many, many years, it caused a lot of stress and anxiety.
His symptoms eased off when he became a teenager, and he began to forget about them until he came down with COVID 4 years ago.
And it caused me to have a constant everyday headache. All day, every day, my head hurts. There are many millions of people who report all sorts of post-COVID conditions. My doctors are still trying to figure out what happened. Around the same time, when I got this permanent everyday headache, the Alice in Wonderland syndrome came roaring back when I started getting it all the time again, like when I was a kid.
As a warehouse employee, Matt was an essential worker during the pandemic. But his constant, excruciating headaches and Alice in Wonderland syndrome symptoms left him unable to perform his duties.
It's been every second of every day of every month for 4 entire years. It can get very, very, very severe. The problem is doctors, they don't fully understand these post-COVID issues. So as far as the headache goes, they don't know how to treat it.
Likewise for the Alice in Wonderland syndrome episodes.
What gets me through it and what has gotten me through it, since I was a kid is just knowing that the episode itself will pass. I'll tell myself, you've been here before. It's a vicious circle. It definitely is. It feeds on itself. That's basically, what my life is now, just going from one doctor's appointment to the next, especially with these post-COVID issues. I can't hold down a job because my headache flares up so often that I get let go for attendance almost immediately. I don't want any of this. I just want my old life back.
This is Inside Edition Digital.